And now join us here on the show. He is the head football coach for your Centennial Huskies, the one and only Matt Logan. And Coach, what an exciting week at Centen, because you've got the big college showcase. And a couple of years back, I was able to actually check one of them out. And man, it's unbelievable the amount of schools, the amount of colleges that are out there checking out the Huskies. How would you kind of paint that picture for people who have not maybe been to one, seen one, heard of one? How would you kind of describe what goes on?
Yeah, basically, when we started this, in 2008, it was kind of like a one-stop shopping for the college recruiters because I was holding it late at night, to where it wouldn't interfere with anybody else's practice or what anybody else was doing in the area in terms of junior college or high schools. And, have all the transcripts, have all the DVDs back in the day and highlights and all that different things that they needed. So it was like one night I just tried to put together one night and invite our kids that are, have an interest and have the potential to play in college and kind of take one of our spring practices and just dedicate it to that. And everything's geared towards the kids showcasing their talent. So there's not two things going on at once. Everybody's focused in on one position or one group, or a lot of times maybe a couple kids at most at a time. And it's kind of like a mini practice for us, and draws a lot of interest from college coaches because we got some good players. So that's always good. And it's a great night all around.
Coach, what about the fact that, you've got a lot of great players and they're going to get heavily recruited, but you have a lot of other guys who might need just to simply get noticed by some of these, college recruiters. So I would assume it's a great experience for even maybe some of your backup players or guys who are trying to get noticed to get those scholarship offers.
Certainly, especially for young kids too that are up and coming. We'll have quite a few freshmen out there and showing their skills. And the thing too, there's such a range of college. It goes from junior college, Division III, Division II to Division I, obviously, and also all those coaches have friends, and they might find somebody they like and say, hey, we can't recruit him, but he's great for your level or for your school. So, there's all those opportunities. Just the more exposure, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, it's a very big deal. It's very exciting. And a lot of your guys are getting heavily recruited right now as we go through. Well, spring ball is here, Coach. We're getting ready for, week 0. I think it's like August 19th or something like that. And the schedule looks a little bit different for you guys because you're now part of the Big West Conference with the Southwestern League. You guys actually open with your Rimpau rival, Santiago, in that first game of the year. But what's your overall feelings, your first impression of this new Big West Conference combining the Big 8 League with the Southwestern League?
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. I think it gives an opportunity for a lot more competition across the board for really each school that's involved, and I think it turns – two conferences into one big conference with a heavier side and a light side, and I think it'll just be great competition for all, and it gives our teams opportunities to maybe compete for the playoffs that they wouldn't have otherwise. And I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be really fun. We're excited about it, and I think they'll kind of revive some old rivalries we've had with the Marietta Valleys and Vista Marietta and Chaparral playing those schools. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, I remember about 10 years ago, you guys had some great battles with Vista Marietta when Sue Cravens was there and Colton Gerhardt popped up at Vista Marietta. You guys had some great games with the Broncos.
Can't shake the Gerhardts, man. They're going to see them somehow.
And, Coach, I'm looking at your non-league as well. Cathedral Catholic, Mater Dei, of course, right? Mater Dei's on there, J. Sarah. So you're still bulking up that non-league schedule before you get to league play.
Yeah, so we're going to have 2 crossover games with the other half of the Big West, and so so we only have 3 non-league games. The other 2 are not considered league games, but they're crossover games, So they're already scheduled, which for a lot of us will really ease some of the scheduling problems we have. When it's hard to find opponents and you might end up traveling which costs a ton of money, especially nowadays. It's even worse with busing and things like that. So it's kind of a nice thing. I think from a school standpoint, overall, it's good now. Limits on who you're playing, but it's still. I think it'll really revive the 15 freeway rivalry that we had going with a lot of those schools.
Yeah, everyone's kind of being a little bit more frugal, right, with their budgets and their spending and whatnot, cutting down on those travel costs. Coach, we just had the NFL draft, and we're getting used to seeing Centennial Huskies being selected in the NFL draft, and the latest was Drake Jackson to my San Francisco 49ers, so I was fired up about that. But, Coach, I read this. I think Drake was actually the highest Centennial player drafted, by an NFL team. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's our highest draft pick so far, yep.
So when you see a guy like Drake coming up as a young guy, let's rewind about 5, 6, 7 years, Do you look at a guy like that and you're like, oh man, he's going to the NFL for sure? Or is it take years of, practice and dedication and, all those sorts of things? I mean, or do you kind of see the writing on the wall with guys like him?
I think we kind of felt that way about Tez. And then when Drake first came up, he wasn't an older kid, first of all, so he was, how every now stays back a year and they're older. So he was on the younger side of it. So you could tell that his development and his growing was still going to take place. And we thought, from a body standpoint, he could get there, and he certainly grew into it, and that's for sure. And he worked really hard to do that. And I think, if you know Drake at all, he's such a great personality. He's such a smart kid. And so you knew that those things were all there. It's just a matter now, can you get big enough to be, people don't realize how big NFL players are. Matter of fact, before one of our games this year, we had quite a few players that came back for the Norco game, and Vontaze Burfict came up behind me, gave me this big old hug, and I'm like, I turn around, I look at him like, this is what an NFL linebacker looks like. It's like you tell the kids, that because we always push college. The NFL's a once in a lifetime. Yeah. And you look at it, and you look at this, and all our kids are kind of like, their mouths are kind of open, like, oh my gosh, that's what they look like. They don't realize the size and then the speed they play with and everything else. But so it was awakening for me too. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got bear hugged by this massive bear, and it's a Tez. So it was awesome.
That's awesome, Coach. And finally here, before I let you go, as you look at the upcoming season, are you excited about the group you have? I don't know if you want to do, some name dropping. I hate leaving, some names out, but, are there any guys we should look for? Are you excited about this squad? Where should the Huskies be strong this year?
We are. We have some good talent coming back, and we got a good young group going in. So we're kind of mixing that right now as we go through spring ball here and trying to find our way through that. We have a good portion of our offensive line backs, so we're excited about that. We have two Division I quarterbacks, which is rare to have one, let alone two, in the same class. And coming back, and Carson Conklin and Izzy Carter, who will be, play at that spot. And we have a couple of receivers with some good experience coming back, and then we got a lot of young guys that'll fill in there. Both running backs are back with Cornell Hatcher and Jason Cortez, so we're excited about that. On the defensive side, we have Lucas Conte at D-line coming back, a returning starter. We got some other guys that are ready to fill in for that, and Darian Jackson being one of them. And then linebackers, we're moving some guys around. We got Owen Chambliss back. We got Samurai Anderson, two really good football players for us, and then some other guys that are going to get their opportunity to play. And in the secondary, we got Mikey Aaron Williams returning, and looking forward, to him leading that secondary, and we'll have some young guys back there as well. So it's exciting. We got a lot of competition going on, that's for sure. And I think you'll see us, in typical fashion, try to play a lot of kids, because there are a lot of kids that can play, and they'll get their opportunity to show what they can do for sure.
And Coach, just one quick follow-up question, because I did want to ask you about your quarterbacks, Carter and Conklin. You've been able to platoon starting quarterbacks for several years now. What's the key to that? Is it just being transparent and communicating with them and letting them know exactly what the situation is going to be and what it's going to look like when we get to real games? Like, what do you think is the key to making that work and keeping everybody happy?
Yeah, well, we try to be like that with every position. We want to be transparent and be super honest with everybody, and give them an honest eval and what they got to work on to do to get better. And my philosophy is always, regardless of position, if the kids can help us win, then they should get an opportunity to play, because the football is the one sport that's so unique to other sports. There's so much work involved in a sport. I mean, if you're not a worker, then you can't play football, because it's weightlifting, it's running. You play so few games. We get 10 full games, aside from playoffs. That's all we're guaranteed. Or if you play travel baseball or travel basketball, you're playing more games than you're practicing. And we're doing quite the opposite. In fact, we're so limited in the practice, with the pads and not pads and how many days a week we can have contact. I mean, you really, truly got to love the sport to play the sport. So I really feel that it's so labor intensive that the kids that put in the work and they're good enough to play, they should get that opportunity to play, and we try to honor our seniors and do that as well. But at the same time, we're going to rotate guys, and we're going to play as many guys as we can that we feel like, as long as we can win with them, then they're doing what they're supposed to do, and they understand the scheme, they understand the technique, they're executing, then we'll play them. And we might play anywhere from 15 to 20 kids on both sides of the ball at least.
And that is the right answer. Thank you, Coach Logan. Listen, I always appreciate your time. Good luck with the College Showcase. I know it's going to be another great event, and a lot of eyeballs on your players and the upcoming season with this new Big West Conference. So I always appreciate your time, Coach, and we'll probably have to catch up again down the road before you guys kick off in August.
Absolutely, and let you know too, we got another Husky on your 49ers there. We got Saguna Lube from San Diego State, who signed as a free agent. So we got 2 Huskies up there.
That's right. I did see that. He was an undrafted free agent. I was excited about that. 49ers love the Huskies. There's nothing wrong with about that.
And he's got a great story. You need to have him on sometime. He's got a great, pretty wild college career and things. So he'd be good to have on.
Look at this. I got Coach Logan looking out for me, like booking guests for the show. I appreciate that. Well, Coach, listen, thank you for your time. I know you're a busy guy. Best of luck with the showcase, and we'll talk again before the season starts.
All right. Thanks, Pat. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Yes, sir. That is Centennial head coach Matt Logan here on the Inland Sports Show.